Hello and welcome to chapel. Today we're going to be thinking about a very special event that we are commemorating as a nation, in fact as lots of nations across Europe, on Friday. It's the 75th anniversary of VE Day. Let me tell you a bit more about it.
The German war is therefore at an end. We may allow ourselves a brief period of rejoicing. Today is Victory in Europe Day.
This was the moment we'd all been waiting for. Enormous crowds had gathered outside the House and all over the centre of London to hear the end of the war in Europe officially announced by the Prime Minister.
On the 8th of May 1945, at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Winston Churchill, the Prime Minister, announced to the nation that the war in Europe was over. This meant an end to nearly 6 years of war that had cost the lives of millions of people. It had destroyed families, homes and cities, and brought huge suffering to the populations of many countries. Millions rejoiced to the news that Germany had surrendered, relieving the intense strain of war. In towns and cities across the world, people marked the victory with street parties, dancing and singing. Let's have a look then at what happened on VE Day 75 years ago, and think about how we might celebrate it all these years later. People came together from across the country to dance and celebrate in the streets. Thousands of people were in the centre of London, jumping in Trafalgar Square, gathering around Buckingham Palace and Piccadilly Circus. People organised street parties, where everyone who lived in the street put their tables together and sat around having fantastic parties, eating all the sweet and beautiful things that they could, and enjoying wearing fancy dress, decorating their homes in red, white and blue. Our Queen was just a young woman in those days, but she didn't let her royal status stand in the way of getting involved in the war effort. Here's a little film about what she did.
Taking a driving course at a training centre is Princess Elizabeth, 2nd Subaltern, ATS. She has been learning to drive and maintain all types of motor vehicles. When the training centre was visited by the King and Queen and Princess Margaret, they found Princess Elizabeth in overalls working on the engine of a Red Cross lorry. After watching other girls at work, the King returned and jokingly asked the Princess, "Haven't you got it mended yet?" The Princess Elizabeth, Honorary 2nd Subaltern, ATS, is now a competent mechanic and proud of the fact.
However, not everybody felt like celebrating on VE Day. The hardships of the war years had taken their toll on many people, leaving them with little energy for rejoicing. For many, the celebrations were tinged with sadness. Amid the street parties and rejoicing, many people mourned the death of a friend or relative, or worried about those who were still serving overseas. There were great plans to have street parties of our own this year to mark the 75th anniversary of VE Day, but because of the coronavirus limitations, we can't meet together in the street. But what can we do? We can have a virtual party. Perhaps you could decorate your house and have a fantastic tea in your front garden or in front of your house and celebrate at a distance with your neighbours. Perhaps you'd like to join us in our virtual school tea party, which you'll hear more about on email. But more than that, we can do our own bit for peace. We're not at war, but we have choices every day about whether we choose peace or whether we choose selfishness. Are there any ways today that you can choose peace? For our prayers today, we're going to use the same prayer that was used during a VE Day service at Westminster Abbey in 1945. Let us remember with pride and honour those who have laid down their lives in the cause of freedom and justice. Let us remember also any who may still be detained in prisons and camps around the world, or who are held prisoners of war. Let us offer ourselves to God, praying that we might bring peace to the world. Let us sum up our prayers and praises by joining together in the prayer that Jesus taught us. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, for ever and ever. Amen.
Make me a channel of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me bring your love. Where there is injury, your pardon, Lord. And where there's doubt, true faith in you. Make me a channel of your peace. Where there's despair in life, let me bring hope. Where there is darkness, only light. And where there's sadness, ever joy. O Master, breath that I may never see. So much to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love with all my soul. Make me a channel of your peace. It is in pardoning that we are pardoned, in giving of ourselves that we receive, and in dying that we're born to eternal life. O Master, breath that I may never see. So much to be consoled as to